And a very good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Varsity Link Coaches Corner as we talk Shore Conference High School football for the next 60 minutes or so. Kevin Williams along with Bob Batters and Ed Sarluca. Tonight we feature the Ocean Big Red. I guess the old timers still go with Big Red, right? I mean,
it's in there.
It's
like
the Spartans,
Spartans.
but they will be our featured team tonight. And tonight we are thrilled for the first time to be coming to you from MJ's Restaurant, Bar, and Grill in Neptune. What a nice setup they've done for us here. And we're excited to be here. We'll be here every other week. We'll alternate weeks between here and the office lounge in Toms River for the rest of the football season. So our thanks to our friends at MJ's, and we are indeed excited to be here. What a great place. And I'll give a little plug for the chicken sliders. Outstanding. Outstanding. But I held the fries and the chips. I didn't go with that.
You got to be responsible.
I got to be responsible eating.
Not me. I ate them.
Yeah, Ed went with the fries. So, again, we'll be talking with Ocean. We're delighted. We'll have head coach Don Klein here along with two of his outstanding seniors, guys who have been in the program for 4 years, quarterback Tyler Douglas and tight end and defensive lineman Shane Garrett. They'll be up with us in a little bit. But as we normally do, we open up the show and kind of go back a few days and look at last weekend. And let's start with the dominance of Red Bank Catholic in their 35-0 win over Middletown South, a game both Bob and I were at. And it was 35-0 at the half or in the third quarter and running clock for the rest of the game.
Yeah, really a dominant win for the Caseys in all three phases. Their offense put up 35 points. Obviously, they did their thing, but the real story of that game was the defense and the special teams to a lesser but not less important degree, if that makes any sense. Their defense was outstanding. Held Middletown South under 100 yards of offense. And they got some big plays in special teams, notably by their senior Robert Stolfa, a couple long punt returns. That set up some short fields, and you really don't want to be giving RBC a short field with the playmakers they have. So a really crisp win for RBC. They look really good, and that kind of sets them up undefeated going into the big showdown this week against Donovan Catholic, which I know we'll get to later, but just in all areas, extremely impressive by the Caseys. That's a good Middletown South team, and they were in control from start to finish.
I just want to add, it was the first time I got to see RBC this year, and like you, I was impressed. I love their wide receivers. I mean, those two kids are outstanding. And as a matter of fact, Emmanuel Ross was our player of the game, caught a couple of touchdown passes, and you just look at him. They look like college receivers. I mean, physically, and boy, oh boy, Frankie Williams, the sophomore quarterback, usually plays within himself, and they're going to be tough to beat in the Shore the rest of the way.
Absolutely. And those wide receivers, Najai Rahman, their senior, a first-team All-Shore wide receiver last season, committed to Brown. I watch him play. Reminds me of Jaden Key, a former RBC wide receiver who graduated a few years ago. Runs great routes, great hands, just finds his way to the end zone, makes the plays. Emmanuel Ross, an outstanding junior. He's got a bunch of FBS offers, some interest from Clemson, so you see what kind of player he is. And then Robert Stolfa, one of the more underrated players in the Shore, does a lot for them, had a big play that set up a touchdown. So, yeah, they're not hurting for skill players over there.
Yeah, one of the questions coming into the season was can they find a quarterback to go with all that upper-class talent, and sure enough, they found the young sophomore, right, who has fit in pretty good, Bob.
Yeah, his numbers have been great. He's thrown a whole bunch of touchdowns. He's been efficient. What impressed me against Middletown South, and something I wanted to see, is that's a defense that's going to bring a lot of pressure. Traditionally, they always do. They have, if not the best defensive player in the Shore, certainly one of them in their junior linebacker, Colin Gallagher. So how is Williams going to look with pressure coming right in his face? He's going to be able to stand in there and make a throw. And he did. There were some instances where he had to hang in there, take a big hit, and get a pass off, and he did that. So very impressive start for their sophomore.
Probably the game of the weekend in terms of ranked teams was the Ocean Brick Memorial game, a wild one. We won't spend too much time on it now because obviously we're going to feature Ocean tonight. But that was, I know Ed was at that game, was really, really impressed with the Spartans.
No doubt. I mean, it was Katie barred the doors offensively, actually for both teams, And every time Ocean put up its touchdown, Memorial seemed to come back, led by Connor Dietz. But Tyler Douglas just a little too much. Had what I call
A lot too much.
what I called one of the best games that I have ever seen a quarterback play in person. I mean, I've seen a lot of games. Remember, I'm old, but that was one of the top games I've ever seen a kid play. I mean, he was just outstanding. I could see why, he's going to big time with at Temple University. I'm telling you, that was some ball game, and I also want to give some little credit to Brick Memorial. They hung in there, and in the third quarter, I believe it was only a one-touchdown game until Ocean took off.
Yeah, 49-33 was that final. 82 points scored, so I hope you took the over.
Yeah.
I had the over. And the other one I thought that was kind of interesting was Raritan beating Manasquan 28-27. Now, Manasquan played without their outstanding quarterback, Brett Patton, who was out. They still put up 27 points, but that game came down right to a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, it was an overtime game, back and forth the whole way. Raritan scored first in overtime, 28-21. Manasquan scored, decided to go for two, didn't get it, and that's your ball game. And, yeah, Patton didn't play in that game. We don't know his status going forward. Minor injury. We have no idea.
Yeah.
This is in the NFL. We don't get the injury reports every Thursday. Yeah. So, hopefully it's a temporary thing for him because obviously he's an outstanding player, an all-shore quarterback last season. But with him and their running back, Jameer Howard, that's two of the more dynamic players in the shore, and they're going to need both of them, if they're going to compete. And now they're at 0-2. So kind of a crossroads for Manasquan coming off that tough loss. And Raritan, on the flip side, undefeated going into a big one against division-leading Point Borough this Friday night at the launch pad. So the Rockets, trying to parlay that victory into another huge one this weekend.
Donovan Catholic took care of Manalapan, which sets up this week's game at RBC. If our listeners remember last year in a torrential hurricane like Friday night,
it was.
With torrential rain and 50-mile-an-hour winds, Donovan Catholic pulled off the upset and beat the then number one RBC Casey's. So that sets up a rematch 2 years in a row. Donovan Catholic has to go to RBC. They're not happy about that, but who knows? No hurricane this week, though.
No, there might be some winds, though, and it's going to be a little chilly. First day where it really feels like fall. Should be a great game. RBC number one in the shore. We know that coming off the state championship last year, returned, most of their top players. Donovan, very impressed with them to start the season. It's not surprising they're this good, but we knew they had a lot to replace, and they had a lot of underclassmen who were going to be starting or at least playing prominent roles. And they've hit the ground running. The shutout of Rumson in week 2, and then just a dominant 35-6 win over Manalapan. And again, they've done it with a lot of underclassmen. They have a freshman running back in Najee Calhoun. And their head coach, Dan Curcion, said it to you, right? He's not your normal freshman, and he certainly is not. So that really should be a great one at Count Basie on Friday night. The Caseys are amped up to get some revenge. And, Donovan at the same time goes in with no fear. And goes into a game where they're the underdog, and I think they relish that role. So I'm excited for it.
Yep, and that's 2 weeks in a row. We'll have number 3 playing number 1
yes.
in our Jeep Store Shore Sports Network top 10. And let's just kind of slide into that because there were changes this week after some of the results from last week. RBC and Toms River North still 1-2. Toms River North rolling past Central. Will visit Long Branch this weekend. Donovan Catholic is 3rd. They moved up from 5. Point Borough remains at 4 after a convincing win over Holmdel. Middletown South drops from 3 to 5 after losing to Red Bank Catholic. How much can you drop them down to losing to the number 1 team?
Exactly.
Manalapan stays in the 6th spot after losing to Donovan. Again, I think that's more of a, hey, look who they lost to. Mm-hmm. And Marlboro moves up from 9 to 7. Boy, they're showing a little life, those Mustangs.
Yeah.
And they've got a good group of seniors who have gotten a little taste of winning. They rolled over Freehold. We'll visit Howell this weekend.
Dangerous game.
Dangerous game
for Marlboro.
Ocean, not ranked before last week, enters the top 10 at number 8 following the win over Brick Memorial. Again, we'll talk more about that. St. John Vianney, not ranked, moves in at number 9. 3rd straight victory, a convincing one, a shutout of Monmouth Regional. And then Raritan, the other team not ranked. 3 not ranked teams moves in at number 10 following that win over Manasquan. And as you said Friday, they've got a good one with Point Borough. Long Branch, Jackson Memorial, Manasquan all drop out of the rankings. and as Bob likes to put, the watch for. And those 3 teams, by the way, that enter the top 10
Are also
were the watch
watch
for
for,
last week. Yeah, so
That's
Colts
true.
Neck, Middletown North, Southern, and Rumson. So watch out for them. Top 10 Tuesday is brought to you by the Jeep Store at Ocean Township. Check out thejeepstore.com. And we want to clarify, okay, Ed has bought 63 vehicles from the Jeep Store, even though he didn't know it. But so
he thought he was buying it from Seaview,
So we
which
could-
he was.
I was.
we can, in a full endorsement mode, both Bob and Ed are driving vehicles from the Jeep Store, and they are very satisfied
Yes.
customers. So
That were paid for by Bob and Ed.
yes, that's right.
And
Yes.
no one's giving us free
Yeah,
vehicles.
yeah,
We're not
yeah.
that cool.
Not
No,
that cool.
You might get a free oil change like everyone else. Just
I do.
a quick note before we take our first break. I was yesterday I saw on Facebook Homedale coach Jeff Rainis put a rather long post, and he suffered a cardiac event last week. Was at practice or after practice, didn't feel good. And the basis of the post was, when your body tells you something's wrong, don't ignore it. And he didn't want to do anything. He was just going to ignore it. And I think his wife gave him a little bit of the,
Yes, you are.
little you know what. And sure enough, he went to the hospital. He had an artery that was blocked, had a stent put in, is doing okay. He's at home. I communicated with him via text message today. And he's going to obviously take some time off. Defensive coordinator John Principe is running the team right now. But our thoughts and prayers go out to Jeff Rainis, who's one of the good guys and has done a really nice job with that Homedale program. We hope he makes a full and speedy recovery.
Absolutely. Jeff, get well soon. Not only has he done a very good job, with that program over at Homedale, but he's been a great friend to us at Shore
Yes,
Sports
he has.
Network, one of our coaches of the year a couple seasons ago. So certainly we hope he gets well soon and he's back on the sidelines doing what he's good at and what he loves.
There you go. So as we get ready to go into our first break, we're going to bring Ocean coach Don Klein up here in a second. Of course, the name of the show is the Varsity Link Coaches Corner. Look what we got tonight, guys. By the way, this was very nice. We came in on our see, the shirts. You got it? Varsity Link shirts that we will proudly wear. But the whole bottom line with this, what we try and tell people every week, is if you're a high school athlete, any level, any sport, then you need to download the Varsity Link app to your phone immediately. It's a outstanding mechanism to help yourself get recruited. You can put all the information about yourself in there, your 40 time. Hopefully not as slow as, what was his name? What was the name Eli used?
Oh, Chad Powers.
Chad Powers. The 5.640.
That was tremendous, by the way.
Great,
If you
great.
haven't seen that, Eli Manning in
It's tremendous.
makeup and whatever not, as a tryout for Penn State. That's
It was
pretty good.
outstanding. But anyway, you put all your information in there. It's also a way to network with other athletes around. So download the Varsity Link app. You can go to varsitylink.com for more information. They are a great friend of this show. They're our sponsor. We appreciate their support of our show, and we would appreciate it if you downloaded the app. If you're an athlete, I have the app on my phone, but clearly I'm not an athlete, so I just happen to have it. So there you go, varsitylink.com. When we come back, we're going to talk Big Red football with the head guy, Don Klein. We'll do that right after this on the Varsity Link Coach's Corner. And welcome back to the Varsity Link Coaches Corner. Kevin Williams, along with Bob Batters and Ed Sarluca. We do this every Wednesday night, and this is our first time. And we are really happy to be here at MJ's Restaurant Bar and Grill in Neptune, right on Route 66. Can't miss it. Easy to find, and a really good spot. A great place, by the way, to watch sports. I know Bob and Ed are paying particular attention to the Yankee game. They have somewhat of an interest in that game. Guy named Judge is trying to do something special, but
pretty good.
pretty good.
Your Mets, not to sidetrack this, but your Mets have clinched the playoff spots.
Yeah, no, it's all right. But as I've told people, I am not a Yankee fan, but I am rooting for Aaron Judge. And last night he made me $14.50 on DraftKings, so thank you very much. That was a nice little bonus. So anyway, but it's not baseball night; it's football night. We're talking Ocean Spartans, and we're joined by Don Klein. You know, Don, I got to be honest with you. And it shows you how old I am. I was blown away when I realized this is your 16th season.
Yes.
And you haven't aged a day.
Yeah, right. Yeah. My birthday was a couple weeks ago. I said I turned 44. I look 54, and I feel 64. So.
But this team will make you feel a little better. You're off to a 3-0 start with wins over Homedale, Neptune, and Brick Memorial, and have established yourselves as one of the favorites in the Freedom Division. And, you know, coming off a 2-8 season last year, and I know you were optimistic going into this year, but have you been caught at all surprised by the start?
Not really. I mean, to be honest with you, you know, the level of the type of football that we've played so far this season is the expectation. You know, last season was last season. We've put it behind us. There's a lot of reasons for it, but at the end of the day, you know, you're not going to give excuses for things. You either are or you aren't. And last year we weren't. So we wanted to correct that. We had a really good offseason. Had a lot of players back, obviously, off that team. And it's credit to our players. I mean, you know, to stay the course last season during that, you know, difficulty and face adversity like they did and still come every day and give great effort and have great attitudes, that lent itself to the success we're having this season as well. Yeah.
And even though you were 2-8, it seemed like the record was not indicative of the way you guys played. There was a lot of close games, and there is that old saying, like, you are what your record says you are, but coming into the offseason and building for this season, was there that sense that, forget what the numbers said, like, you guys knew you were building upon something kind of ready to come in this year and just kind of show what you guys have been working towards?
100%. I mean, we were a handful of plays last season from being 5-5, from being, you know, respectable 5-5 team against a really good schedule with a bunch of young guys playing. And we had a bunch of guys that were hurt last year. I mean, you know, we lost C.J. Flanagan for an extended period of time. Ben Trench has come on this year, you know, and been a terror. He didn't play one snap last year as a junior after starting for us as a sophomore. And then we had a bunch of guys that played through injury last year. So when you put all that stuff together, you know, it lends itself to a recipe where maybe you're going to struggle a little bit, and we did, but it also lends itself to having a lot of success the following season.
Donnie, of course, you are the architect of the Kenny Pickett era, you know, a few years back, who now is playing in the pros for Steelers. But how about this kid you got this year and had him for a while?
I can't speak highly enough about it. I'm telling everybody that listens the last 2 years how good he is. I did the same thing with Kenny. I was right about that. I did the same thing with Trevor Pena. I was right about that. Now Tyler Douglas. The kid's fantastic. He's just naturally blessed as an athlete. The thing that sets him apart, I think, is his competitive spirit, his toughness. He's a really, really strong leader. Works really, really hard. Well liked by his teammates. I mean, he's as good as it gets.
You know, you always try to stay away from comparisons. I'm sure you get that question all the time.
I wish I had $1 for every time.
Smiling
Somebody
already.
asked me
I was going to say, so
to
I'm not
compare-
going to ask.
Ask. I'll give you a different answer.
I'm not going to ask you that, but I did have the opportunity and to sit and talk football for almost 3 hours with George Conti, an old friend of mine. I coached with George quite a while, and you know he broke down your team like he was on the sideline.
Yeah.
I know you talk.
Yeah, well, sure. You know, Coach has been a big resource for me throughout my, you know, course of my career. I've told people the reason I am the head coach at Ocean is because of George Conti.
Him, right?
So we have a great relationship. He still has obviously an excellent eye. He's a state Hall of Famer. He's as good as it gets. So, you know, for him to have an opportunity to watch us play, he has a pretty good feeling for who our players are and what we do.
Well, if you ever run out of adjectives about Tyler Douglas, just call him. He had a few Friday night.
Yeah, no,
that's
he's
for
a
sure.
big fan. You know, he's a
very
big fan.
big fan.
Obviously, you have a dynamic quarterback, and at the high school level, like that can mean it does. It means a ton, but you're not 3-0 because of one player. So what's been the biggest improvement you've seen, obviously, outside of getting that quarterback play that's enabled you guys to get off to this undefeated start?
Yeah, I think, I think our work ethic, our professional approach, we're a very focused team. We get very good leadership from our seniors. We have Shane Garrett here tonight also, who's a 4-year varsity guy for us, was a freshman on that really good 8-1 team a couple of years ago. So we have a bunch of guys that know what it's supposed to look like. And I think from day one in the offseason, even through our summer, through our scrimmages, through the first game of the season, our focus has been elite. We're a team that works every day. I think we're a team that's going to continue to get better as we go. And we have a lot of playmakers. Offensively, doing a really good job of spreading the ball out. Guys are making a lot of plays. We're getting better up front on a daily basis. Rich Reed, Jay Wamba, who's here tonight, both our offensive line coaches, doing a phenomenal job of working with those guys. And defensively, we play really hard. So when you have an athletic group that flies around and competes, play in, play out defensively, it gives you a chance to get some stops.
Talking with Ocean head coach Don Reed here on the Varsity Link Coaches
Don
Corner.
Klein.
What? Oh, Don Klein.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
He said Rich Reed.
Yeah,
I know what you did.
You know what? My age. You know what happens. Coach, when you get off to this kind of start, there may be a tendency. You'll correct me when I'm wrong, but there may be a tendency, if not for you, definitely not for you and your coaches, but some of the players to start thinking a little bit too far down the road. How much are you preaching that one game at a time thing and forget all the other stuff?
Yeah, we've addressed that. I addressed it. After our Neptune game, it's. I told the group, because, like I said, a lot of those guys were on the team last year. I said, you guys know how to handle losing. I know that you know how to do that. You came every day. You gave great effort. You were focused. You practiced at a high level. Your attitudes were great. How are you going to handle when you're being told how great you are? Are you going to handle it the same way, or are you going to be affected by it? Because we weren't affected by the losing last year. Our work ethic, like I said, everything was on par with what we've done with the last 16 years with the better teams we've had. But we've done a really good job of in one ear, out the other, and just focusing on the task ahead. Really, really, really good job with that, and it comes again from our leadership. We have big goals. We know that we need to take care of each week, though, in order for us to achieve them.
You mentioned, obviously, we've talked a lot about Tyler, and we will, not just tonight, the rest of the season. Shane's here as well. Both of those players were, played as freshmen, like you said, on the 8-1 team. Ben Trench, another important player. C.J. Flanagan. Tell me some, 1, 2, however many guys, who are some underrated players that probably, are not going to get the headlines, but are really crucial to what you guys have been doing?
I think one guy, Mateo Andrews, has to be mentioned. He's getting headlines, and deservedly so. A transfer kid that came in from Neptune, has really, really fit in with our group, character-wise, work ethic-wise, all those things. Talented kid, has made a lot of plays for us. So that's been an explosive option for us offensively. James Sobieski's doing a really good job of making plays for us. He played for us as a freshman last year on both sides. And then at the end of the day, it's, up front, right? Nick Caruso is our center. He started for us as a freshman. He's a junior now, doing a really nice job. And then guys like Ben Gerard. Ben Gerard was our leading tackler last year. We moved him to an edge player this year defensively. He did that without any complaint. He's made a ton of plays for us. Now he's playing right tackle for us as well. Selfless kid there. Willie Canavan's another guy. He leads us in tackles right now, playing at a high level. So we're fortunate to have a bunch of guys that have experience and have a lot of talent that are playing with great desire.
With Ben Gerard, that was as a sophomore last year, right?
Yeah.
games, you go on the road. You become road warriors. Tom's River South on Friday night, Raritan and Brick Township. I wanted to ask you about the way the Shore Conference does the schedule now. It's kind of a rotating every year. It's a different thing what division you're in. You may have lost games against teams that people were accustomed to you playing for many years, but do you like what's happened? Do you like where it's at? Or if you had your preference, would you like it to be like the old days?
I kind of like the old days, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't really think much about it. I know a lot of coaches put a lot of time into it, and they have stronger opinions about it, that they're more informed on it. But for me, I like Ocean Long Branch. I like Ocean Wall. You know, we do play Neptune. I like some of those fundamental rivalries that I was fortunate enough to have. Yeah, the old B North games. You know, and I've been, like you mentioned, I've been here 16 years. We've had a lot of really good games at a high level with some of those rivals, and I think that's something. But yeah, listen, this is fun. It's new. You know, there's some teams that we haven't had a chance to compete against before, so I'm open for whatever. But you know, I'm kind of like an old school guy when it comes to those high school rivalries. I do miss. I think Ocean Long Branch should play each other every year. I just think that's a game that should happen.
Yeah, I understand. I appreciate the balance that it has to take. We're trying to get away from, you know, blowout games and make the conferences a little more balanced. You can't ensure it. You can't guarantee it, but there's a better chance. But I just think that the communities miss those games.
Yeah.
You know, the towns that have played for years where, you know, there might be a guy whose kid is playing and he played there, and I think you kind of lose that, and I'm sad about that.
Yeah, then there's something to be said for that. You know, like you said, there's generations of different. We have a bunch of players on our team whose dads played for Coach Conti, you know, and for the Big Red, and they experience those rivalries. So for them not to get the opportunity to do it is a little bit disheartening. But like I said, overall, I think the idea is to have competitive games and have divisions that are competitive, so that, you know, everybody gets an opportunity to play at a high level and compete for a championship. And during the course of my career, we've played everybody. I mean, if it's a who's who, usually every year of a top 10, I think, you know. And this year's no different. A lot of really good teams, well-coached teams on the schedule. So we're fortunate to start 3-0, and whoever lines up across from us was going to get our best effort.
Yeah, just one more thing about the schedule. You know, this week you go to Tom's River South. Yeah. If the Big Red have some tradition, you're going to a school that probably is number one tradition-wise, the Indians of South. That's an event every time they play, no matter what their record is. Then a couple of weeks after that, you go to Brick, where you're going to see 50 championship flags flying in the stadium. So another school rich in tradition. So as you said, you know, you've played some of them in the past, but this year their conference games.
Yeah, no, their conference game. You know, they're on our schedule, and those things are cool for our kids too.
Yes.
You know, so I can't complain about what the schedule is. But you know, like you said, there's a lot of teams on our schedule that have great tradition. We mentioned that. Even Neptune's had great tradition. Raritan's played a bunch of really good games with us the last couple of years. I have great respect for those guys. You mentioned Coach Ranis at Homedale, what he's done the last couple of years. We opened with them. Walt Curry's been the head coach of Brick Memorial as long as I've been at Ocean. We came in the same year, and he's had an outstanding career. So, no, it's all good, very competitive, and we're looking forward to the challenges.
I know you guys have obviously turned the page and moving on to Tom's River South, but I do have to press the rewind button back to the Brick Memorial game just because not only did you guys score 49 points, but the game that Tyler Douglas had, literally a record-breaking game. I remember we were talking, well, hey, there's got to be some kind of records. You said, yeah. So 489 yards of offense, 7 touchdowns. That breaks down to 304 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 185 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. I mean, there's teams that might not have 500 yards of offense in like 3 weeks combined. Most teams don't do that in a week, and he almost did that. So when you're watching it, do you get the sense, or is it until you put the film on where you can really appreciate what kind of game?
No, you can get a sense for it while it's going on. I mean, you know, some of the big plays that were generated. You know, Tyler's command of what we're doing offensively. He's very, very bright. And as you're coaching, as you're watching things go on, you have an idea that he's putting together a pretty monster game. Did I think it was 500 yards total offense? No, but you have an idea as it's going on that special things are happening.
And he picked off a pass on defense.
And he picked off, yeah. Yep.
He's still punting for you, though?
He's punting.
Look at that. No rest for the wicked right there.
No, he's fantastic.
Impressive.
Fantastic.
That is Don Klein. I think I got his name right this time. The head football coach at Ocean. As we mentioned, the Spartans are 3-0. They'll visit Tom's River South on Friday night. And Bob and Ed are going to talk with Tyler and Shane right after we take a quick break. Coach, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Good to
It's
see you.
Always blessed to be with you guys.
And, I'm one of those old guys that likes it when the schools that have been perennial programs in the Shore Conference are good. I just think it just creates something. So I'm happy to see you guys off to a good start. And I know there's a lot of football left to play, but I wish you nothing but the best, and I appreciate your support coming out tonight. Don Klein, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to the guys right here on the Varsity Link.
Thanks,
Coach's Corner on the Shore Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Varsity Link Coach's Corner on the Shore Sports Network. We're at MJ's Restaurant, Bar, and Grill in Neptune, New Jersey, talking Ocean Township Spartans football. Great conversation, as always, with head coach Don Klein. Now we welcome on two of the outstanding Spartan seniors, senior quarterback Tyler Douglas and senior tight end and defensive lineman Shane Garrett. So, guys, first of all, thanks a lot for coming down. You got some good support tonight, which is always great to see. And the Spartans are 3-0. So after winning only 2 games last year, you guys are already off to an awesome start, and I know that's what you guys wanted. So, Tyler, I'll ask you about that first. I mean, you come into the season, everyone wants to start fast, go 1-0, and now you guys sit here after a big one, 3-0. So that's got to be great, knowing you guys really wanted to bounce back from last season.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, we won 2 games last year. That's not what Ocean Township football normally does. We come out and we get rolling for sure this year. 1-0, 2-0, stack good days, stack good practices, and now we sit at 3-0. Taking it week by week, and we got another big one this week. We got Times River South, and just trying to go out and get another win.
And Shane, same thing. You guys, especially as seniors, and guys you played as freshmen on that team that was 8-1, so you saw firsthand a successful team, a playoff team, a team top 10 in the Shore. So from that standpoint, you understand what it takes. How good did you feel coming into the season that you guys had that potential to really turn it around and get back to, contending for championships like Ocean usually is?
Yeah, playing that freshman year with those senior class, they kind of taught us how to run a program as a senior. I feel like we had a strong bunch coming in, especially a senior class, a lot of guys who've played football and experienced. I think I felt really good coming in because I knew we had a strong core at the start, and we just had to build it around us.
Tyler, I know you verbaled at Temple University.
Yep.
First question, did you go to the Temple-Rutgers game Saturday?
I did not.
I
attended the game before that, the Lafayette game.
Okay.
We have a former Spartan alumni there. We have Chris Garcia. Got to watch him play a little bit. Temple came out with the win. That was a fun one to go to, and I'm planning to go to the one this weekend against UMass.
Well, good luck with making your final decision and your college career after you finish out this high school career.
Thank you.
You were there, but I'm going to lead into this, so you can ask some questions.
Okay.
But I know you guys moved on to Toms River South, and we'll get to that, but we got to go back to the Brick Memorial game. First of all, 82 points scored in the game, so that's a wild one to play. And 49 for you guys. I mean, and I read the stats off before when we had Coach Klein on, just a record-setting day for you. Did you realize that you were putting up numbers like that? And I know you're probably going to say you're not paying attention to that stuff, but what was your reaction when you kind of saw the game that you had?
It's funny. I was just talking to Coach Wamba over there and Shane at the table, and I came up to the sideline talking to a couple teammates, amped up over a big win. You got the adrenaline going, but someone said something about 7 touchdowns, and my eyes were kind of just like, what? what are you saying? So, yeah, definitely hearing the stats and hearing the 7 touchdowns, I was definitely in shock. But, we expect nothing less at Ocean. The offense was rolling, and, defensively we got the couple stops we needed and ultimately came out on top.
And, Shane, we talked at Media Day way back in August and talked about Tyler and just what it means to have a quarterback like that, a dynamic player who can take over a game, and he did that. So what What's it like when you're playing and you see him just, ripping off huge runs, long passes, and really just every time he gets the ball making something amazing happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like you expect it to happen. I mean, he's a specialist player, obviously. He's committed to Temple. When he gets the ball in his hands, he makes things happen. Whether it's there or not, he can make something out of nothing, and that's what happens.
And offensively, you had yourself an amazing game. I mean,
I was just going to say
he's
that.
like 4 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Not too many tight ends putting those up numbers. So just how about that? Because I know you're probably more known as a defensive player and been a really good one for 4 years, but how about getting involved offensively like that?
I put a lot of work in the offseason trying to expand my role in the offense, and just seeing it come out and happen on the field, it was really special to see.
Well, this is the way I saw it Friday night, When Tyler got tired of throwing those 75-yard bombs, to Mateo and whoever else, he always went back to Mr. Reliable, and that's you. A little short up the seam, a couple times for touchdowns. Tyler, true?
Very true. I mean, Shane, you get him the ball in space, and me, myself, I wouldn't want to get in the way. He gets rumbling. I don't want to get in the way of that. I've known that since we were young. We grew up together playing sports, and he's been my right-hand man for a while.
The number, 35, how'd that come about?
Funny story. My dad wore 53 in college, and when I came in as a freshman, I asked if I could wear 53, and they said, no, it's not eligible. So I just flipped it around and wore 35.
It's a nice touch.
Excellent.
I'm sure your dad is very happy about that.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And your father, of course, Dan Garrett, the head coach at Keene University. 3-0, so you're in a great spot, obviously. You've established yourself as division title contender. And when we talked to Coach Klein, 2-8 last year, but you guys probably really felt like, hey, we were better than that record. So coming to the offseason, what were some of the things that you guys felt like you did well that you could build on coming to the season, and have you done those things?
We definitely never gave up in games. Raritan last year we were down, we were down a bunch at half, and, second half rallied and came back and gave it a competitive game. So I knew that this group would always give it all. So I knew going forward that this year we were just going to have to keep working, and that's all it really came down to.
How much has experience contributed to this success? And it seems obvious. Anytime you have some upperclassmen who've been there, you're going to play a little bit better. But it seems like Coach Klein said, you guys battled through the losing, learned how to come to work, so to speak, every day and put that same effort in. So how did some of those moments of adversity prepare you guys for this season?
It definitely prepared us, as you see, we're 3-0 right now. But like you said, last year we were very young. We played a lot of sophomores. As Coach Klein said, we had Willie Canavan, Ben Gerard at linebacker. But now they're juniors. They've been through that quick pace of varsity football because it really is a different level than AYF, Pop Warner, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And, they had that first year under their belt. So they came back stronger. They worked out in the offseason, speed, agility, all of it. And here they are now making a statement.
Shane, I always like to ask the two-way players, defensive tackle, tight end. What would you prefer? What side of the ball do you like better?
I like to play offense personally, but wherever I can help the team, that's where I'll play.
That's a company answer.
Well,
come
I'm
on,
a long snapper too. I play all three spaces of the field.
You're a big guy. You like to hit people, right?
I do like to hit people. That's why I play both sides.
Okay.
It's as
He
much
wants
possible.
targets, is what he's saying. That's what he wants. He's looking for. This is a program, as we talked about before, that's got a lot of tradition. And you guys come up playing in the Pop Warner ranks, and I'm sure you've been to a bunch of games on the sidelines as kids, watching them win. So what's it like when you've said you played together your whole life. You came in as freshmen and saw time in the field. So what's it like now being a senior and trying to produce one of those championship moments, in your final year in high school?
It's kind of just full circle, you see it as a kid, you see it experiencing both together, and now that we're playing together, we get to go through it again, trying to win a championship, bring it back.
Okay. My favorite question.
Time for the hard-hitting questions.
Time for the hard-hitting questions now. I've been to quite a few pasta parties at Ocean. I'm sure you still have them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Who eats the most at the pasta parties? Tyler?
My answer is one of these two in the back. We got Nick Caruso, the center. and not even surprisingly, I wouldn't say. Ben Gerard, he stepped in at the role of right tackle, but kid eats like an animal. like nothing I've ever seen, honestly. It's kind of crazy.
You mean the guy killing the cheeseburger
Yeah,
right there?
there you go, right? There you go.
What do you think, Shane?
I definitely
You
say
going
Ben
with those
Gerard.
guys?
He's taking that right tackle spot to heart.
It's unanimous decision.
Okay, you drop a pass, maybe,
On third down.
or you throw an interception, maybe, Who's the guy you don't want to see coming over to the sideline?
Probably Wombo, honestly. He'd probably give me some work for that one, but it's all love. It's all love.
It's all love.
See, that's tough. I wouldn't so much say Wombo because Wombo's a funny dude in my eyes, but I'm either going Coach Klein or Coach Reed Sr. because Coach Reed Sr. when he gets going is something I don't want to see.
There you go.
I've seen it on special teams and I've seen it in practice, and he's experienced, so he knows how to get guys going, but he also knows how to dig into you as well.
Who's the guy that makes you laugh?
Oh, there's a couple guys. The main guy, though, probably Caleb Thompson, senior defensive back.
Yeah, you
he's a
agree
funny
with
guy.
that?
I agree with that 100%. He's an instigator in a good way, so he likes to bust people's chops and get them angry, but in practice it's a good thing, get people banging heads and keep them going.
Clearly you want to keep focused, but how important is it to have that? You got to keep it light here and there. At the end of the day, you're playing sports out there having fun. So how much does something like that help? Kind of breaks up the over seriousness sometimes that we get.
Oh, it's definitely fun at practice. We have our fun, but I feel like with this group, they know when that flip has to switch. You have all that fun, but and you got to be serious because, this year it's been, when are we getting out of practice, this, that, whatever. Well, if you keep practicing, goofing around, you're going to get out later. If you focus in when you have to, you're going to get out on time, and you got time for homework, watching film, whatever you need to do afterwards. That's what it is for me. There's the goofing around, but there's also the seriousness.
I want to go back to you for a second individually, and we talked about this a little when I saw you at Media Day. You came in as a freshman, played, not a quarterback, but mostly on defense, played a lot of special teams, kind of went wherever you needed help, and then became a starting quarterback as a sophomore year. Now, obviously, there's been that, progression, that improvement. But coming into your senior season, what were some of the things that you really felt like you needed to work on and get better at to kind of get to that next level?
Coach Klein, Coach Rassiopi, and I, we really felt that it was just honing in on the quarterback skills. You can see in the tape that I have the athletic skills. It's just really the footwork, the timing of routes. It's just all the things you need in a quarterback. As Coach puts it, being an elite athlete, but not only an elite athlete, an elite quarterback as well.
Mm-hmm. And the comparisons to Kenny Pickett, for people outside, they just look and say, ooh, quarterback Ocean. And obviously those are going to be there. But in what ways has your relationship with Kenny kind of helped you? Because he's been exactly where you are now, and obviously you have aspirations to do what he is now doing. So tell me about the relationship you guys have and how that's kind of helped you prepare for what you hope is a really good career going forward after this.
Yeah, for sure. The first time I ever worked out with Kenny was kind of a group session, so, I went into it nervous. It's Kenny Pickett. He's got all the hype around his name. He's first-round draft pick, this and that. But, after that, I got to do a couple private sessions with him, and he's the most laid-back, down-to-earth dude. Don't get me wrong, but if you're not on his timing, he's going to say something. Like, I'm having a bad day throwing. All right, Tyler, let's pick it up. Let's go. Like, I don't got all day. So he's he's good in that way, but he also knows how to help. He helped my throwing form a lot. He helped me calm down my footwork because my footwork was always sped up and kind of rushed. So he's helped a lot, and ultimately I want to be where he's at. So you got to listen to him, and he's proved it.
What other sports do you play?
Nothing right now. I used to play basketball and run track, but those days are over.
And Shane, how about you?
I played basketball first 3 years. Still undecided about this year yet. Then I'm baseball as well.
Good stuff. Well, we know your college plans. How about you? Obviously, I'm assuming you want to play college football. How's that looking so far? What are you thinking?
It's looking good. I've been talking to a lot of schools, got some offers to go play some schools. Just kind of feeling it all out as the season goes and see where it ends.
When you run the table, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, get into the states and so on, coaches start to look at you a little bit more, in a different light. They say, hey, this kid, he's got 10, 12 touchdowns, or whatever you're going to end up with. So that's important to keep the W's coming for sure, both of you.
Definitely.
It's Tom's River South this week, and I know that's your number one focus. When you've been preparing for them, watching them on film, or what are some of the takeaways? Obviously, without giving up any of the game plan, but what are some of the takeaways from that and what you guys feel like you need to execute on Friday night to come out with another win?
I think we just have to stay out of our own way. Just kind of execute with all of our game plans. do everything full speed, just go straight at them.
Same thing for you. What are you thinking?
I would say it comes down to being more physical. You know, that was a big thing last year. Teams just thought we were soft, and that was the big thing coming into week one. We had Homedale coming at our place, and all I heard in warm-ups on their side was, "Oh, these kids are soft," and we showed it. Week one, bang, we're here. So we want to be the more physical team, and ultimately that'll take us to victory.
You know, just put the earbuds in and don't listen to that tomahawk chop that the Indians play, you know, with their 150-piece band. You know, they try to intimidate you.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that out of your mind.
Got to be road warriors, right?
Road warriors.
Well, guys, thanks a lot again for coming over here and chatting football with us. Always great to talk with the Spartans. Coach Klein's one of our favorites, and you guys, great representatives of your program, not only outstanding student athletes, but, hey, really fun to talk to you. Good perspective on the team. So we enjoy the conversation. And, again, thanks, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you very much for having us.
That's Shane Garrett and Tyler Douglas from the Ocean Township Spartans looking to move to 4-0. They'll be at Toms River South this Friday night. So we're going to take a quick break here from MJ's. We'll bring Kevin back in. And we'll hit on some other topics, talk what's ahead here in Week 4, the midway point of the regular season. Sounds insane, but that's actually true. So quick break, and we'll be back. The Varsity Link Coach's Corner on the Shore Sports Network.
And welcome back to the fourth quarter of the Varsity Link Coach's Corner on the Shore Sports Network. Before I go into what I wanted to say next, just again, Varsity Link, we're really thrilled with the partnership with them as the sponsor of this show. And if you are a high school athlete and you're listening or watching this at any point and you have not downloaded the Varsity Link app free, where you normally download your apps, then you're missing out. It's a great tool for any potential recruiting on any level to put in your stuff, and it's also a great way to stay in contact with other athletes. So varsitylink.com and download the free app. By the way, when you were talking, I was watching Ben with the cheeseburger. The cheeseburger waved the white flag after about 20 seconds. It had no chance whatsoever. But that was good. Those guys were great. Listen, I always say this, and we've been doing this for a long time, and we've been talking to athletes for a long time. But, you listen to two young men like that. They are such great representatives of their program and their school, and their families should be really proud of them, how well they handle themselves. Just terrific. And it was good to listen to, and they were both great. And wish them nothing but success the rest of the way. So, you hit me when you said the halfway point of the season. I mean,
it's crazy, but it is true.
You want it to still be summer, but it is true. And we always, again, we in the media, right? We we exaggerate a little bit sometimes. But, you start looking at teams that
Some
are
more than others.
Some more than others. But
I'm
you
looking
look
at
at
you.
teams, I have what I always say about football more than any other sport is it's such a short season in terms of the number of games you play as compared to basketball, baseball, lacrosse, soccer. I mean, you're saying it's the halfway point of the regular season and it's only the fourth week because you only have 8 regular season games, So, and I think of the seniors, these kids, they work so hard in the off season and in the summer and they make so many sacrifices. And every game, you look at like those two guys you're talking to, like every week is one less game they'll ever play in their high school career. So the immediacy of it, for teams this weekend to kind of like if you want to have a special year, well, now you got to start winning, because you get to 1-3, 0-4, in some cases even 2-2. It's hard. It's hard to have that special season you thought you might have in July.
Yeah, I'll take that Yogi Berra line. I mean, it gets late early. Yeah,
Exactly.
It really does. And you're right, for the teams that are, Ocean's 3-0, hoping to move to 4-0, you have to continue to play at that level, but you're sitting in a very good spot where there's other teams, that are going to have to dig and call out, and some teams can, and they find a little bit about themselves, and you look back and it's a footnote after they're standing there holding a championship, and others can't. It's schedule dependent a lot of times. Where do you get certain games? When do you play them? So there's a lot that goes into it. And then speaking from the perspective of being high school football, you have a finite time to be out there. So you try to relish every moment of it. We can all speak from experience with that. Playing high school football, and especially for the seniors, they're not thinking about it maybe in the back of their mind, but it's, okay, you got 3 games in, you got X amount left, and you have that urgency when you're a senior where it's just something you don't understand until you're there. And when you're led by seniors, especially as good as these two are that we had on, some special things can happen.
Listen, you snap your fingers and you're running out for your last game of your career. Those two guys are going to play at the next level, there's no question. But there's a lot of football players, a lot of high school seniors who will put a uniform on for the last time at some point in November. So.
Yeah, eventually in one of these upcoming weeks, Kevin and Bob, we've got to start talking about the playoffs.
Oh.
Because I know it's early and, like you said, halfway through, but RBC, Toms River North are going to play in their 5th game already. So, the format is a little different this year. So we have to mention that on the air eventually.
I should have done this earlier, but instead of the swear jar, I'm going to have the playoff jar. You're not allowed to say playoffs until we get to October. You do, you got to throw $1 in there.
Listen,
Here's
2 things you shouldn't be able to say till October. You ready?
Yeah.
Playoffs and pumpkin spice. All right? It should be banned. You should not be allowed to say it until October.
It's still technically summer. Last day.
Yeah, last day.
Yeah, we
that's
got
right.
a few more hours left in it,
last
so.
full day. But you mentioned, of course, this weekend, from the short standpoint, the big game is Donovan Catholic, Red Bank Catholic. But, of course, every game to every team is significant. And we never overlook that. The nature of what we do, we're on once a week, is we're going to feature teams that are having really, good seasons. And there are a lot of teams that we're not going to talk all that much about. But to them, what they do every weekend is every bit as important.
And listen, most of the time, I like to go to the best games, to pick the games that are the most important ones. But there are games that I'm not at, we can't get to cover that are incredible.
Yeah.
So it's always, I enjoy that. That's part of my Friday night. I enjoy. You get in and checking Twitter, getting some text updates. Whoa, what happened? Great example was the Keyport Point Beach game.
Yeah.
That game on a Saturday was insane, back and forth. I think I want to say 3 touchdowns scored in the last 3 minutes of the game. So, yeah, there's some exciting stuff going on out there.
There are some teams, Kev, that actually need a W.
Oh.
You take 3 perennial teams that are used to winning, Wall Township,
Yep.
Lacey, and Central, all winless going into this midway season.
Well, one of them will definitely get a win this
Yeah, they
weekend
play
'cause
each other.
Lacey and Central
The
play
O
one
must
another.
go.
The O must go, yeah. And Manasquan.
Yes.
Manasquan is 0-2, and they have a tough game with St. John Vianney, who, Bob, was interesting.
And then Wall is Middletown South.
Wall as Middletown South. You saw Vianney in that first week in that Week 0 game, and I remember talking to you, and you said, look, they're going to win some games. and they've reeled off 3 wins in a row, and they've been pretty impressive under first-year coach Jeff Papson. So, Vianney.
Under the radar, St. John Vianney.
Oh, absolutely under the radar, because you lose the first week to Red Bank Catholic, and everyone's sort of, well, I guess they're not any good.
Like, I was there at that game. What's the takeaway from Vianney's perspective? I don't know. Like, they didn't lose 50-0. Like, you can't learn a lot from that game, but watching them play, I did learn a little bit. Like, this is a tough team. And actually, there was quite a few Red Bank Catholic coaches that are saying that's a good team over there. Like, that team's going to do well and win some games. So I put that in the back of my head, and you see what they've done the next 3 weeks, and quality wins. They beat a Colts Neck team that just beat Jackson Memorial to knock them out of the top 10, and their only loss being to Red Bank Catholic. Yeah, that's a solid team, and they're playing well right now. Kyle Various, their outstanding senior wide receiver. They put him at running back. He plays D-back. I mean, he had an awesome game against Monmouth Regional, a 30-0 win. Again, one of the more underrated players in the Shore, and they're doing some nice things under Papson.
Another team, Southern Regional. The Rams were the Jersey Mike's team of the week this week, coming off their upset of Long Branch last
7-0 win. How
over
about that?
Long Branch.
Threw the ball twice.
Yeah,
the whole game.
Southern is 2-1, right? So they're rolling array a little pretty good. Colts Neck.
Yeah,
Colts Neck is a dangerous team. Middletown North is a dangerous team.
Middletown North. I've had multiple people tell me, "Hey, the quarterback for Middletown North, he's really good," and he is. Luke Sheehan. They're a junior, threw 4 touchdowns last week in a 28-10 win over Lacey. Steve Bush, one of the best coaches in the Shore. I think everyone knows that. Not breaking any news there.
Yeah.
And whenever he's got a quarterback to work with, they're usually up near the top of the leaderboard in terms of passing yards, touchdowns, and usually in contention for an all-Shore spot. And Luke Sheehan has played really well so far. That's a good team. Jack Lopez, one of the best defensive players in the Shore. That's a team I think we're going to hear from down the road. And just before I was glancing at, looking at Ocean's schedule, I said, all the way down there, week 7, October 14th, Ocean Middletown North. That could end up being a really, really big game. A non-divisional game, but a really big game before the postseason.
How about the upset of Jackson? Surprise you?
Yeah.
Yes and no in the sense where Colts Neck is when I say basic in their offense, it's not a slight at all, but you know what you're going to get from them. They're going to run downhill on you. It's a power football team. They have a really good running back in Chris Scully, their junior. Coming into high school, I had heard about him. Hey, this kid is a really good, youth football player. He's going to make a name for himself sooner than later. Got some run last year as a sophomore. Ended up taking over as their starting running back. Ran for about 800 yards. And you see what he's done so far. I mean, he's their bell cow, up over 130 yards, I think, in all 3 games. And they gave it to him. And they gave it to him often. He punched in that winning touchdown against Jackson.
And the other team I wanted to mention is we talked a little bit about Marlboro, who entered our top 10 this week. They're 3-0. They have an interesting game at Howell. Howell's kind of been a strange team. One week you think, hey, they're pretty good, and the next week they kind of don't play up to that level.
They've worked, in 2 different quarterbacks, and kind of got that sense that could happen in the preseason. They had Jack Gartenstein, who was one of the receivers last year, moved him to quarterback, but they knew they had another player, Egan Nelms, behind him who could kind of end up assuming that role, and they could move Gartenstein back to receiver, which seems like what they've done the last 2 weeks. So kind of a little bit of maybe trying to figure out what works best there on offense, but clearly they have the pieces.
Yeah. And
that's a dangerous team because they have really good players. Kevin Maloney hasn't gotten off to a huge start numbers-wise, but he was an all-shore receiver last year, 13 all-shore spots. So, again, they have the talent. And those, division games, those rivalry games, especially those Freehold Regional District games, like, you don't know what's going to happen there. So that's a dangerous game for Marlboro going in.
One more team I want to mention in that Freehold Regional District, Freehold Township.
Yes.
Don't sleep on them either.
Yeah, they got that's the team that beat Howell last week. 26-13 was the win for the Patriots. Mark Augello, a very good junior quarterback, had a nice day. They have a very good sophomore running back in Chase Enlow. And look, Corey Davies has been a coach for over 30 years in the Shore Conference. The guy knows how to win. So, again, that's a team running that air raid offense is just something different to prepare for. You have to go in dealing with a team that might throw the ball, 35 times a game. That's something you don't see every week, so it's a challenge.
It's time for us to wrap it up. Our special thanks really to the people here at MJ's Restaurant, Bar and Grill in Neptune. If you have not been here or have not been here in a while, I strongly suggest. Great place to watch games. They got TVs all over the place. And
There's one thing I did want to mention real quick before we get out. Congratulations, Shore Regional head coach Mark Costantino.
Yes.
His 200th career win. The Blue Devils won in convincing fashion over Keensburg. Because win number 200. He's been a fixture at that school in West Long Branch for a long time. Multiple sectional titles. They're always one of the best small school teams around. So congrats to Kaz. He's
Don
been on the
played
show
for
this
him.
bunch of times. That's right. He played over there. So Kaz with number 200. They hit him with the water, the Gatorade, all the stuff after the game. So
Very good.
Congratulations to, and already a Shore Conference Hall of Famer. So
There you go.
Many more wins in your future.
thanks as well to really appreciate the support of the Ocean Big Red Spartans tonight coming here. And head coach Don Klein, and, of course, Tyler Douglas and Shane Garrett talking Shore Conference football and Ocean football with us. As always, our guy Tom Tremblay, who I'm telling you, the guy is just unbelievable. We had some issues before. The man could fix anything. And his sidekick now is Steve Meyer, our guy on the camera, who says, hey, Tom's the main guy. I just sort of do whatever he tells me to do. For Ed Sarluka, the coach, and Bob Batters, thanks for watching the Varsity Link Coaches Corner. Next Wednesday, we'll be at the Office Lounge in Toms River again from 7 to 8 o'clock. And, of course, always for high school football coverage all season long. Keep it on the Shore Sports Network. Good night, everyone.